بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Ya Tuhan kami, berilah kami kebaikan di dunia dan kebaikan di akhirat, dan lindungilah kami dari azab api neraka.
في الذكرى السادسة عشرة IIUM FM هنا 16 عاما من الإبداع وصوت الجامعة ونبض الطلاب، صوت يتجدد ورسالة تستمر. لا تنسوا أن تستمعوا إلى IIUM FM Your Campus Radio.
16 years, nearly 6,000 days of being the voice of this campus. From the first time we touched the feather to the digital wave we ride today. Broadcasting has changed, technology has evolved, but one thing has always remained: connection. The connection between voice and listeners, between stories and the people who will hear them. The way of the future is not just about innovation, it is about continuing that connection in new and meaningful ways. 16 years on air and journey continues, celebrating 16 years of IIUM.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to Beyond Barriers Season 2. Alhamdulillah, we have reached towards the end of Season 2. It's the last episode for this semester. So as we arrive to the final episode of Season 2 of Beyond Barriers, we want to conclude this journey with a conversation that invites us to reflect on something deeper than success, achievements, or even, challenges. And throughout the session and season, we have explored, stories of resilience, education, leadership, personal growth, and we have also discussed about how people cross their barriers in their life. And it was interesting because each person has their own way of crossing their barriers, even though if the barriers are similar to one another, each one of us. Yet behind every decisions we make and every path that we choose, there lies something fundamental, which is our worldview on how we view the world, how we view the things that matters to us. A worldview, it influences how we define what is success, how we understand our knowledge, how we respond to challenges, and ultimately how we find the purpose of our life. So in today's rapidly changing world, young people are constantly exposed to different ideas, values, perspectives, and this ultimately raises an important question, which is how does Islam shapes not only what we believe but also how we think. So today's episode is titled The Power of Islamic Worldview, How Islam Shapes How We Think, Not Just What We Believe. So to help us explore this important topic, we are honored to welcome Dr. Jafar Paramboor to our show. So without further ado, let me invite him. Talking about him, he's an assistant professor at Kulliyyah of Education, International Islamic University, Malaysia, and he holds a PhD in Management and Administration in Education, along with master's degree in Islamic and Human Sciences and Educational Administration. So with his background in both the education and Islamic studies, he brings a very unique perspective on how faith supports us and how faith helps our understanding of knowledge, purpose, and life itself. So without any further ado, like I mentioned, let me invite Dr. Jafar Paramboor to the final episode of Beyond Barriers Season 2. Assalamu alaikum, Doctor.
Wa alaikum assalam wa
How are
rahmatullahi wa
you?
barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, doing good.
I am really glad that you accepted our invitation in such a short notice. Like you didn't have to think much. You just said yes to the show, and I'm really happy for that. And for those who don't know, we are from the same country, from the same state, and I started knowing about you more in this semester, and I've got to understand that you have such a great knowledge on how Islam,
Don't.
at least in my worldview, I feel like that. And he was also one of the mentor of Kerala Halka. So from that, I gained a lot of knowledge from you personally.
MashaAllah.
So I am I was manifesting to invite you in one of our episode, and Alhamdulillah, the time came right now, and I'm really happy and glad that you have agreed to join us towards our last episode. So thank you so much, sir, first of all.
My pleasure.
All right. So before we begin the interview, can you please introduce yourself?
I'm Dr. Jafar, just like you mentioned, and I'm coming from Kerala, and I have been working here as an academic staff since around 4 years. I finished my master's from Kulliyyah of Education from our university, and then I moved to UTM, JB campus, to do my PhD.
Right.
That's all. And the other things that you have already mentioned about me. Yeah.
And I like that you always love to keep yourself humble. Like the way you introduce yourself. That's
Don't
something.
say such thing on mic.
No, this is something that really inspired me.
MashaAllah.
Like, despite, and I would like to mention it in my interview, when we had a conversation, he said very nicely that no matter what we have, how rich we have, how rich knowledge we have, you need to always humble ourselves, because when we die, no one asks how much rich you were or how much, rich your knowledge was. They only count on how much good things we did. So whenever even you ask him what his name is or what his job is, he always humbles himself and just say, I'm Jafar, which is a thing that everyone should, always keep them in their mind.
Subhanallah. I don't know how to respond to these, praising or these things. But one thing I wanted to tell you, the moment I responded you with yes, it was because this Islamic worldview is one of my teaching topics. I have been teaching that topic around 3 years now. So I love that topic. Yeah, because every discipline that we start talking about is fundamentally and basically from the worldview that we have, right? It is basically an outcome of the worldview we have. That's it.
Just like you mentioned, when I thought of doing this particular topic, the first person who came in my mind was exactly you. That's why I approached you in the first place. And I feel like even in IIUM, we get all the courses that we take, communication, education, all of those subjects. It's taught in an Islamic perspective. So I thought we should have a deep conversation on this particular topic. So to begin with our interview today, I'd like to start with the foundation of our discussion, which is Islamic worldview. Many people hear the word Islamic worldview, but they may not fully understand what it actually means. So how would you explain the concept of an Islamic worldview to a young Muslim who have never really encountered this term before?
That's an interesting question. And then this question is supposed to be the first and primary question to me. So before we move to the Islamic worldview, we have to understand what the worldview itself means. Worldview. When we listen to this worldview, it is basically an English translation of a German word, Weltanschauung. That is the German word. And I'm not sure whether I'm pronouncing it properly or not, but that is basically that word. And then, so that is worldview. And then what is a worldview? All right. Simply understanding or simply saying a worldview is a concept of somebody about the world. Right? And then when we explain this worldview, in Arabic we may say, ru'yah lil wujud. Ar-ru'yah lil wujud. Right? I mean, understanding the meaning of, everything. Right? Understanding and conceptualizing about the meaning of life. It's a philosophy of life, right? And it's about understanding the nature of reality, right? The nature of many things that are surrounded among us. So that is basically a worldview. And then when we talk about the Islamic worldview, right? Something that Islamic should come there, right? So an Islamic worldview, for example, according to Al-Parsalan, Achiganj, one of the living philosophers of Muslim world, he has narrated long about this worldview, this word. So according to him, worldview is a vision of the reality that functions as the non-observable foundation for all kind of human act and human thought. So whether you are doing a scientific study or you are dealing with the scientific or technological advancement, you have a worldview. You have a belief system in your mind, knowingly or unknowingly. So that is ar-ru'ya lil wujud, the fundamental aspect of how you see the world. That's it. So in Islamic worldview, when we say it is our belief, our faith, our iman, and our vision, all these contribute to the worldview, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, I think it's a wonderful explanation. All right. Moving on, I want to ask you something like understanding what an Islamic, worldview is naturally leading us to another important question. Like, how does it influence our life, like the way we view ourselves and our purpose in life? So, what would you like to add on that?
I have to add a lot actually, but I don't know whether the time is enough or not. Moving to the the influential aspect of the worldview, when we understand the worldview, there are some constituent elements of the worldview actually. The worldview or the discussion of the worldview is not comprehensive if we don't discuss about the the nature of reality, the nature of God, the nature of the cosmos, the nature of the man, the nature of life, the life after death, eschatology, all these things. These are the fundamental constituents that contribute to a worldview. And on the other part, we have this, worldview is also surrounded by certain factors or certain ologies, right? Epistemology is there, ontology is there, axiology is there, and then there are some other ontologies, right, that we have to discuss. Have you heard of this epistemology, this word? I don't know. Epistemology, right? How do we know that we know, right? And why it is a knowledge, right? Where it comes from, These are the theories of knowledge, right? And axiology, for example, the nature of the values, what is good and what is bad, and how it is good and how it is bad, and why is it good and bad. All these things should come under the discussion of the worldview, because these are the contributing elements to comprehensively understand a worldview, right? So all these elements are directly or indirectly influencing and shaping our thought and mind and behavior and our daily life, right? How do you live without understanding about yourself and your vision and your thought, right? So sometimes I used to I ask my students, do you have a worldview? And then they are confused, but then at the conclusion of this explanation, I ensure that everyone understand they have a worldview. Previously it was without their knowing, and after my class I make sure that now they know that they have a worldview. So basically, a worldview can, give you an understanding of the fundamental three questions. What are the questions? Who am I? Where do I come from? And where am I going to? Right? These are the three fundamental philosophical questions, right? That gives meaning to our life. And, it is a contributing element of a worldview, our worldview. How do we live without knowing our purpose, right? How can we make meaning of our life, right?
definitely.
Yeah.
For UG students like us, we have a course called Basic Philosophy. So, like you mentioned, he asked the same question to all of us. What is worldview? And at that time, since we were in our first semester, we didn't had an answer to respond, to be honest. But towards the end of the semester, we kind of understood what is worldview and everything. And I'm glad that IIM has a course like that to change our worldview. Like, the version of me before coming to IIUM is completely different from what I am right now, and the worldview I had back then and now is also again different. So I totally agree with what you have mentioned right now.
MashaAllah.
And then moving on, let's take a small break before
Sure.
we move to the next segment.
MashaAllah.
All right. So to my dear listeners, stay tuned because we have some interesting questions and you have to be looking forward to some interesting conversation as well. But before that, let's take a small break. You are listening to Beyond Barriers Season 2, brought to you by IIM FM, your campus radio.
It's been 16 years. What an incredible journey. To all our listeners, thank you for being with us. This is IIUM FM celebrating 16 years of your campus radio.
Let's lead the way, lighten the future, share the wisdom to the spirit of Islam. Revelation and reason shall excel, shall prevail. Merging faith and knowledge, we, the Khalifa, we will fulfill the Amana. Together we make the world a better place. Forever expand the culture of Iqra. IIUM is to realize the meaning of Ramadan al-Amin. Together we make the world a better place. Forever expand the culture of Iqra. IIUM is to realize the meaning of mercy to all the worlds for tuning into voices bright and clear. Across the air, we're always near. IIUM FM, your campus radio. With knowledge, truth, and something new. IIUM FM, the sound of unity. In every heart, a shared melody. Reaching minds with every beat. Voices strong, real worlds.
Welcome back, my dear listeners. So, today, success, like right now in this particular point of time, success is not, success is often measured through, wealth, status, achievements, and recognition. Yet, Islam seems to offer a very completely different perspective. So, sir, I want to ask you, how does an Islamic perspective or Islamic worldview redefine what success truly means?
That's an interesting question. The first point I would say is God wants us to be succeeding in a way that it is akhirah oriented.
Yeah.
We as human beings are supposed to be akhirah oriented, not dunyavi oriented or dunya oriented.
Mhm.
So, God wants us to be succeeding in a way that it is akhirah oriented. We as human beings are supposed to be akhirah oriented, not dunya oriented.
Mhm.
or in other words, material oriented. That's it. Hayya al falah, success, the Arabic, one of the Arabic word, among others, including fawz, najar, is falah, and it is a profound, meaningful word, al falah, and we listen to this word, every now and then, during azan, right? So Allah is really calling us for this, falah, the ultimate success, that make you happy, ultimate happy, right? So the success, the true success, is always akhirah oriented, and that is happening once we take rest, when we are supposed to take rest,
During our day.
once we finish our role in this dunya, right, and we move to the other world. So our success and our roles and our achievement, or whatever you call it, all is being judged in that world, not in this world. And all the other things that we gain, we achieve, including the certificate that you gain through your learning journey, all is temporary. So success ultimately, and Islamic success means you are an akhirah oriented personality. That's it. I hope you understood.
Yes, I truly understood.
Right.
I would like to add a point to this. Like when you mentioned, I think it was Prophet Ayub. Like he had a lot of wealth and
Afflictions,
all.
yeah.
And when someone asked him, the answer he said was, "This is not my money. This is something that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala gave it to me, and I am just supposed to handle it in the correct way so that Allah doesn't punish me later." So I think that itself is a great example on how Islam truly wants us to define success. Like it's all a gift that Allah gives us. It's nothing ours, because at the end of the day when we die, we're not going to take anything. No money, no status, nothing.
Exactly.
It's just us and Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and He will judge us only by what we did, like as
Exactly.
in like a good deed. All right. Moving on. Many university students and young professionals, they struggle with questions about identity and their purpose and dedication. So how can Islamic worldview help someone navigate their uncertainties and find meaning in their journey?
Oh, excellent. To find a meaning for our journey that is what all we are supposed to do actually. Finding a meaning. And many of us, even Muslims, even though they live 80 years, 90 years, even 100 years, they are struggling to find the meaning. All right? So once you have an intention to find the meaning, you may be guided by the God Himself. وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا, as Allah mentioned in the Quran. Those who are really struggling, or those who have struggled, right? وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا, those who have struggled in our way, in my way, I will definitely guide him. Right? And then for this, as an inspiration, we have to understand the meaning of life, the meaning of happiness, the meaning of afflictions, the meaning of bala. What is bala? Bala is afflictions, the test that is given by the God. And what is the Islamic understanding of, like facing a stressful life with afflictions, sufferings. For example, we may be faced with a lot of, hardship, such as, diseases, long-term diseases, or the lack of enough money. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قَالُوا إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. Right. Allah is definitely warning us about all these afflictions. Indeed, it is for sure, I will make you suffer. Right. I will make you, I will give you some tests and exams with lack of property, your financial means is being closed, and then somebody, the closest ones, are dying, and then you have these different types of hardship, wal anfusi, and diseases, wa thamarat, and sometimes you don't see any outcome of your hard work. All these are afflictions, sufferings, and then what you are supposed to do. What you are supposed to do. Wabashiri sabirin. Oh Prophet, you give the glad tidings, the happy news for those who are patient enough, right, to accept all these sufferings. You cannot show any other religion mentioning this, guaranteeing this. Once you suffer, you are a celebrity. Sufferings make a full man. Look at all the prophetic lives, all the prophets. Can you count any of the prophet having no, suffering in this life?
No.
And look at our last, our prophets, journey, the life story of our prophet. When he was 6 years old, the mother passed away, and then even before his birth, father is no more, right? And then when he was 40 years old, he was he was called as crazy, Majnun, from his own community. Can you imagine? An adult man is being called crazy. And he is walking along the street, and then he is being thrown. What type of afflictions these are? And then he was the most successful world, and he was the real celebrity in this world. If you know, we know, right? The superstar, the real superstar, right? So these are the inspirations that that we have. When we understand all these things, we find the true meaning of our life. We reach the point that, okay, I'm ready to accept, because Allah is my priority, the God. I have my God, right? And it is my God who is giving me all these tests and afflictions and sufferings. So why should I hesitate to accept this? I am a man of sabr, right? And that is part of my iman. So no matter what happens to you, you will be happy, contented, right? لا يسأم الإنسان من دعاء الخير وإذا مسه الشر فيئوس قنوط. Allah has used, if you refer to the word insan in the Quran, you will be shocked, really shocked. Allah is really, very harshly, pointing out towards the bad attitude of the insan, in many verses. And this verse is one of them. لا يسأم الإنسان من دعاء الخير وإذا مسه الشر فيئوس قنوط. The man doesn't get bored to ask for the goodness, but in any way, if he is afflicted with some suffering, maybe short term or long term, he is totally disappointed. فَيَئُوسٌ قَنُوطٌ, the extreme version of disappointment and frustration that he has, right? So how can you grow, as a man? You cannot. So if we understand all these things, we really, get to the point of, the success. And no matter what happens to our life, it's okay. We accept. Rida. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Ya ayyatuha nafsul mutma'inna irji'i ila rabbik radiyatan mardiyya. And that is the final stage, And Allah is wanting us, to go back to Him. He is the one who sent us to this world, and then He is calling us, affectionately. Ya ayyatuha nafsul mutma'inna. What a beautiful call is that. Ya ayyatuha, oh peaceful soul, come to me peacefully. You come back to me, and I am your Rabb. Radiyah, totally contented, total happy, full of, happiness. Wadkhuli fi ibadi wadkhuli jannati. And then the floor is yours. You enjoy. And that is the final moment of enjoyment, right?
Yeah.
So that's it.
I feel like in this generation, most of the people the young generation. We truly define success as becoming rich rather than the thing that you mentioned.
Money oriented.
Yeah, and you also mentioned that for us, it has been mentioned in Quran, if I'm not wrong, that we will be, tested with a lot of hardships and struggles. And I've personally seen so many people who pray something that they really want in their life, and it won't happen in the way that they want it, but ultimately it is good for them, but they don't realize it. And Allah is the best planner in the world. He knows what is good for us, what is bad for us. So all the things that happens in our life, it is something that he always makes sure that we get the best thing, but we don't realize it, and people complains. Even during Prophet Musa's time also, people used to complain a lot. But there is also saying that it has been mentioned in Quran, if I'm not wrong, Allah only gives us the challenges that we can bear.
لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah
And that's
doesn't give
such a-
us the hardship that we cannot afford.
Yeah, that itself is such a powerful, and I think after reading that particular verse, it really changed my life, because
Mashallah.
whenever a challenge comes in our life, we always think, why me? Why
exactly.
us?
Yeah. Why me?
But
yeah.
when you read that, it makes us proud of ourselves. Okay, I am capable enough. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave it to me.
Exactly.
If I wasn't really capable of doing it, He wouldn't have given it to me. And at the end of the day, like you mentioned, patience. If you have that patience, then
we never question.
nothing is gonna.
yeah. If you have that patience and understanding, we never questions.
True.
Right? We never question Allah's plans.
Yeah.
It is just like you got a disease, and then you have to go through these medications, and then what if you cry? If some injections and surgeries are there, and then you are reluctant to accept all these things. You don't visualize the final end. Once you are treated, you are becoming healthy and safer. Or we are moving to an unknown journey, and then the hardship comes along our way, and then we just stop, and then we get frustrated. We don't think in a long term. So the akhirah oriented mind is a long term. Our thinking should be long term, akhirah oriented. It is the Muslims and mu'mins, we are the ones who think, we have a visionary thinking, or we should have a visionary thinking like that. Not only about this material world. Material world, can finish within a flip of seconds.
Definitely.
Yeah, it can turn out to be something bad for us. But when we are really akhirah oriented, we are visualizing, the other world, and then we work for that. Al-kayyisu man dana nafsahu wa amila lima ba'da al-maut. Right? There is a prophetic hadith like this. Al-kayyisu man dana nafsa. The wise man on this earth is the one who oppresses all his, desires, the nafs. Wa amila lima ba'da al-maut. And then he acts, for the sake of the afterlife. That's it. That is the wisest man on earth. Not any other philosopher, nothing like that. Al-kayyisu man dana nafsah wa amila lima ba'da al-maut.
These are powerful things. And like I mentioned before, Prophet Ayub, I think he has deeply influenced me in all the matters, and even Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well. Like both of them, I would like to mention about Prophet Ayub first. He had the best life in terms of richness, in terms of family, in terms of health. Yet he was subjected. He had a lot of challenges in his life. Like he got a disease, a very bad disease, and he lost almost all of his children. He lost all of his wealth, and yet he was so patient enough. He never really, was angry with Allah's decisions or anything. He was really patient. And even when you look at our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like you mentioned, people threw thrones at him, wazed at him, yet he never was angry at anyone. He was so patient enough, and he knew that this was a challenge upon me, and he even visited the person who threw on him. And that itself shows, you really need to be patient in your life, and if you do that, you will understand how beautiful this life is. And you need to always overcome all your challenges and trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all the matters, and go back to him if you have any sort of challenges. That's what I would like to add personally.
MashaAllah.
And moving forward, let's take a small break, and then we'll get back to our next talk break. So you're listening to Beyond Barriers Season 2 only on IIUM FM, your campus radio.
It's been 16 years. What an incredible journey. To all our listeners, thank you for being with us. This is IIUM FM, celebrating 16 years of your campus radio.
Let's lead the way, lighten the future, share the wisdom to the spirit of Islam. Revelation and reason, we shall excel, we shall prevail. Merging faith and knowledge, we the Khalifa, we will fulfill the Amanah. Together we make the world a better place. Forever expand the culture of Iqra. IIUM is to realize the meaning of Ramadan al-Amin. Together we make the world a better place. Forever expand the culture of Iqra. IIUM is to realize the meaning of mercy to all worlds for tuning into voices bright and clear. Across the air, we're always near. IIUM FM, your campus radio. With knowledge, truth, and something new. IIUM FM, the sound of unity. In every heart, a shared melody. Reaching minds with every beat. Voices strong where worlds meet. From wisdom old to stories untold, we bring the light, the young and bold. Through every way, we rise and shine. IIUM FM, your voice, your time. IIUM FM, the sound of unity. In every heart, a shared melody. Reaching minds with every beat. Voices strong where worlds meet. IIUM FM, your campus radio. Here with you wherever you go.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربنا.
Welcome back, my dear listeners. You're listening to Beyond Barriers Season 2, brought to you by IIM FM, your campus radio. Alright, as someone who has spent years in education, you have worked closely with students at academic institutions, right? So how should an Islamic worldview influence the way we approach learning, education, and the pursuit of knowledge?
Interesting. So the first thing that a student,
Mhm.
or a knowledge seeker should understand about knowledge and seeking knowledge is, I would say, he should start. He should know how to start, right? In Islam, knowledge is not, something isolated from our life.
Mhm.
Not anybody can, come and, seek knowledge. No, it is not like that, right? Before you learn, you have to understand the proper adab of learning. You have to have this adab of learning. Al adabu qabla al ilm. One day, the second Khalif of Islam, Umar radiallahu anhu, he was giving a lecture
Mhm.
at his mosque, during his Khilafah. And then he was recalling all the, years past and his life with the Prophet. And then at one point of time, he mentioned this: "Ta'allamna al-adab, thumma ta'allamna al-Quran." The first thing that we learn from the Prophet was the adab, and then only we gain knowledge of the Quran. So what the Prophet had done for them is he made them the people, the qualified people, to accept knowledge. And if you are not qualified to receive knowledge, then better don't go for that.
Mhm.
Right? That is the first and primary, aspect of seeking knowledge. You have to qualify yourself. Right? And then the second thing, وَطَهِّرِ الْقَلْبَ وَصَحِّحِ نِيَّةَ وَمُنَّ بِالْأَسْبَابِ لَا بِالْمُنْجَةِ. I learned this, 2 verses when I was 10 years old. And I still remember this. Right? And it's changed. During that time, my learning time, I didn't think about it much. But when I enrolled to this university, I started thinking about this. And I got really touched about, with these 2 verses. وَطَهِّرِ الْقَلْبِ. Right, you purify, you cleanse your heart first before learning something. وَصَحِّحِ نِيَّةَ, you straighten your intention. وَمُنَّ بِالْأَسْبَابِ لَا بِالْمُنْيَةِ, and then you as much as you can, you seek and you search for knowledge. Al-ilmu la yati bal yu'ta. The knowledge should be, should be sought. The knowledge will not come to you. You should go and search for it. And that's it. Al-hikmatu dallatul mu'min. The wisdom is a lost property of a mu'min.
Mhm.
And then your responsibility is that you search and continue searching for that wisdom. So wherever you go, you try to find the wisdom. Right? So that is the primary, concepts of education and knowledge seeking in Islam. Right? So if your intention is not good, no matter you are, learning Quran, it is not going to be worthful or worthy. No matter you learn Quran or Hadith, if your intention is, to spread fitna, right, then the whole point of learning is gone. So it is your intention that make your learning and knowledge seeking fruitful, and that is the outcome. Right? And then about education, my personal reflection, or if I remember my journey into this university, I was motivated to come here by one of my friends, and then he encouraged me to join education. Actually, my intention was to learning language. Then he said, why don't you go for education? Because we don't have people, to discuss about education. We have many people to discuss about the language and other sciences. But when we think about education in Islamic perspective, we don't have many people to discuss that. All right, and then I followed his, words of wisdom, and then I enrolled to this campus, the Kulliyyah of Education. I started reading, some of the, the Muslim philosophers and their understanding about education, especially Al-Ghazali, Ibn Sina, Ibn Sahnun, Ibn Miskawayh, Al-Farabi, right, all An-Nawawi, Ibn Furak, Abu Hanifa, and you know, Adab al-Muallim wal-Muta'allim, you know, of, and Az-Zarnuji also. I have written some papers on them, some of them, and I'm planning to write something more about these, you know, these scholars, inshallah. Just make dua for me, you know, to finish all this. And then when I read, you know, their own understanding and their own views and their own concepts about education, I felt deeply motivated to step in that field. And then I used to attend some of the classes and Saturday night lectures of our late Prof. Naqib al-Attas. I got some chance, and I always praise my God, Alhamdulillah, you know, because I got some chance to, you know, go and see him and to seek directly from him. And then that was a turning point, you know, for me, right? Understanding his own, you know, concept of education, and in his profound language. You know, he has so many books on education itself, the concept of education in Islam, and then aims and objectives of education. And when you read his masterpiece, Islam and Secularism, or Prolegomena to the metaphysics of Islam, you see some aspects of education and how it is connected to happiness and, you know, to the other world. And he is nicely explaining all these, you know, concepts, the aims, the purpose. You know, education is, you know, the ultimate purpose of education is not to produce a good citizen, as the, you know, Western worldview announce it or promotes it, but the ultimate aim and purpose of education is to produce a good man, a man of adab. What does that mean? You know, you can be a good citizen if you obey the rules of a country, and then if you are doing injustice to yourself, they don't count that. You are still a good citizen. So if you are doing some injustice to your nafs by drinking alcohol or doing adultery without breaking the rule of a nation or the country that you are living in, you are still a good citizen. But Islam doesn't agree to that. Education is to produce a man of adab, and the man of adab should not do injustice to himself first. Doing injustice, lulmun nafs, you know, there is no other religion talking about lulmun nafs, you know, the doing injustice towards oneself. What a profound concept is that. So education is, you know, by all means, by all means, the ultimate aim of education is to produce a man of adab, a good man. That's it. So that was my, you know, turning point to understand and read and comprehend, you know, the views of Naqib al-Attas, who has profoundly narrated about other, you know, classical scholars, including Al-Ghazali. And he himself is an expert of Al-Ghazalian philosophy. Right?
I think we should have a separate episode on him.
Why not? I love that.
Inshallah. Such a wonderful answer.
Right.
All right, moving on. You know, there's a common misconception that faith and critical thinking are somehow in conflict with one another. So, from an Islamic perspective, how do faith and intellectual inquiry actually complement each other rather than compete with each other?
Oh, okay. That's also an interesting question. Faith and critical thinking. You cannot establish your true faith without asking critical questions. Allah is motivating us to ask questions, at least, I don't know the exact number, but a lot of questions, you know, Allah is asking us personally, you know. And then Allah is also asking us to ask questions, to contemplate, to critically judge, to think, to comprehend. أفلا يتدبرون أفلا يعقلون وكثير من الناس لا يعقلون لا يشعرون أفلا ينظرون إلى الإبل كيف خلقت. Don't you think? Don't you comprehend? Don't you have aql? Allah is asking too many questions like this. One day, I tell you one more story about our Umar bin Khattab, the second Khalif. he noticed one man praying like this in the mosque, inside the mosque. Allahumma ja'alni min al-qalil. Allahumma ja'alni min al-qalil. I know it's a strange prayer. It's a strange dua. Nobody has ever listened to this dua before. So he felt very strange, and then he was the Khalifa, and then he asked this man, "Oh man, why are you praying like this? Allahumma ja'alni min al-qalil. Oh Allah, include me among those who are very few." That is the meaning of that dua. Oh Allah, include me among those who are very few in this world.
Confusing.
Yeah, it's a very strange dua, isn't it? So this man responded, "Ya Amir al-Mu'minin, I am praying this because Allah has mentioned in the Quran, وَكَثِيرٌ مِّنَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ." You know, majority of the people don't think. Majority of the people don't understand. Majority of the people, don't comprehend. So I don't want to include in them. And that's why. And Allah is, telling in the Quran, وَقَلِيلٌ مِّنْ عِبَادِيَ الشَّكُورِ. Those, there are people, very few people among, among others who are really grateful to me. So I want to be included in that. Right? So, how do you establish, your faith, your good attitude? You cannot learn unless you ask questions. How do you think, this scientific advancement, even algorithm, where did it come from actually? The origin of all these algorithms, the artificial intelligence, the origin of artificial intelligence, it is coming from the Muslim scholars. Ibn Haytham, the optometrist, the expert, and then Ibn Sina, Al-Qanun fi Tibb. You look at every discipline, any discipline that you want, you can find the origin from the Muslim, thought process. Because they open the Quran, they comprehend, and then they think and observe the world. This is what they exactly did. Quran was talking miraculously, wonderfully, that they couldn't understand. So they read the Quran, they comprehend it, and then they start observing. The exact opposite thing that we are doing. We are doing other way around. We observe the nature, we observe, but we we only refer back to the Quran as the final outcome or at the final stage. They did the otherwise, right? So the Quran itself is a manual, an instruction manual for critical thinking. Yeah, if you really read the Quran in its proper way, you find the critical thinking aspect, many elements of critical thinking. Iqra bismi rabbik alladhi khalaq. Iqra, see, Allah is the first time, the first moment that the Quran is being revealed, Allah is asking the Prophet, Iqra, read. And then Allah never said what to read. So that's the question, the primary question that we should ask. What should we read? Allah never say, Iqra hadha al-Quran. No. You read this book. No. You read the world. There are many, types of interpretation. So that is the question. Once you think about this, you will have definitely to ask some critical questions. So if you don't have this critical thinking mindset, how do you ask questions? And once you start asking questions, you are establishing and maintaining your faith, the proper faith. That's it. So it's not contradictory. It is complementary.
I had a lot of doubts regarding Islam, and I have seen so many people say that don't think too much. If you think too much, you might end up going in the route of atheism. I'm like, okay, but I don't want to go in that path. I just genuinely want to understand the reason behind all those things. But yet I have heard, like I mentioned, some people say don't think too much. It's not at all recommended to think this much, because they think that if I think too much, I might go in that.
It is good if you think, in a guided format. That's why I say, Quran is an instruction manual to guide us on thinking. The thinking is guided, then you are okay. Yeah, and then you have to think. If you don't think too much, you don't suffer. Yeah, one who, all the philosophers suffered a lot. Why? Because they thought. That's it. Yeah, so it should be guided thinking. We always pray that, Allahumma inni as'aluka ilman nafi'an wa amalan mutaqabbalan wa rizq Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min ilmin la yanfa'. Why do we seek knowledge? To think, right? Min ilmin la yanfa'. So non-beneficial knowledge, Allah, please, I seek refuge from you, from this non-beneficial knowledge. So once I learned something, I started indulging in that knowledge, and then I think too much. Just to say, I start thinking too much without any proper guidance. That's very dangerous. Yeah, you may get astray, and you may get confused. Yeah, so it should be guided thinking. And of course, when you think, if we take this word aql, our aql is what is the meaning of this aql? It is reasoning, but it is a controlled reasoning. It is a controlled thinking. Irqilha fatawakkal. It is coming from this root word irqil, the tying up, aql. So aql is something that is, that should be work in a controlled manner. If it is uncontrolled, we may get confused. That is the nature of aql. So we should use our aql in a guided manner. Otherwise, it is very dangerous. Seriously, it's a dangerous thing. I hope you understood.
Yes, definitely.
Right.
May Allah protect all of us.
Ya Rab.
All right. So, unfortunately, we are going towards the last talk break, but let's take a small break before that. You guys are listening to Beyond Barriers Season 2, only on IIUM FM, your campus radio. So, we are going to go on a small and a very quick break.
It's been 16 years. What an incredible journey. To all our listeners, thank you for being with us. This is IIUM FM, celebrating 16 years of your campus radio.
Let's lead the way, lighten the future, share the wisdom to the spirit of Islam. Revelation and reason, we shall excel, we shall prevail. Merging faith and knowledge, we the Khalifa, we will fulfill the Amanah. Together we make the world a better place. Forever expand the culture of Iqra. IIUM is to realize the meaning of Ramadan al-Amin. Together we make the world a better place. Forever expand the culture of.
Welcome back, my dear listeners. So, like I mentioned, it was a very, very quick break, and unfortunately, we have reached towards the end of today's interview. So, let's move on to our last talk break. Young people today, especially, face constant pressure from social media, their career expectations, societal trends, and even the current rapidly changing values. So how can Islamic worldview help individuals make sound decisions in an environment that often promotes conflicting ideas and priorities?
Interesting. Human by nature is okay. When we understand the worldview itself, the nature of human being is he is already motivated to do many things, and he tends to do things even impulsively. His impulse may get him to many types of accidents and incidents. The main reason is that he cannot control himself. So in my previous response, I already mentioned to you, our actions and our thinking and our attitudes should be controlled enough to the extent that we understand the real nature of things. When we indulge in learning, we should start asking questions. Why are we learning? What is the ultimate purpose of this learning? And when we think about, for example, a family life, we should think first, why should I marry? And what is the purpose of a family life? Same goes with every actions that we do, right? So the question of how we apply all these Islamic these Islamic elements or these Islamic perceptions about our understanding about the world into the real context. We have to understand about the concept of God, the sustainer, the protector. We have to learn the attributes of God. And then we have many of us have a misconception about the concept of religion, right? The modern surroundings or the modern worldview has forced us to think that religion is something private, isolated from the public life. That is the normal understanding about the religion these days. But in its true sense, religion is deen, inna dina inda Allahi Islam. Deen is something close and something all-encompassing wherever you live in this world. It is an umbrella that shape your worldview, your understanding about the world, your understanding about the reality, right? So religion cannot be isolated from our private or public life. Whenever we open our Facebook or WhatsApp or Instagram, the many comments that we receive or we happen to see is this: okay, take your religion out of public. You and your religion, or go to your home and practice your religion. Because people, the Western secular worldview has made us misconceive about this. Religion is not something separated from our life or our public life. No matter where you interfere, if it is in politics, you have a religious understanding about the politics. What is our politics? Our politics is when you are powerful, you help and assist the powerless. You contribute and do justice to the powerless. That should be your politics. And if you are dealing with the studies, I'm talking about the studies because we are living in a university, we are an academic community. So when we learn or when we are indulged in learning, we should understand this primarily. What is the purpose? Why am I learning communication, for example? And what should I do with my degree? Am I learning for the sake of a job or something else? Am I learning to please somebody? Am I learning engineering, to spread fitna? or to negatively contribute to the society, or to secure and go for a good place, right? To earn some money and then live my happy life, my choice, my rules. There is no such thing. I mean, there is no such thing for a Muslim. You don't have any choice in this world, even though many of us don't agree to that. Ultimately, we don't have any choice. Our freedom is limited, right? Our freedom is limited. That means we have a meaningful freedom. Islam doesn't control you or your freedom unconditionally. No. Islam is controlling and giving you a meaningful freedom, and that is so organic. There is no place on this earth having unlimited freedom. No place on this earth. You cannot find unlimited freedom. I'm not talking about religion, or I'm not talking about Islam, no. I'm talking it in a general point of view. You cannot find a single space on this earth having ultimate freedom. Can you find?
I was thinking the same, but no.
No, there is no space. You go to the shopping mall and then there are people to control you. Right? How much time you spend and what should you buy? Right? Who is controlling your food chain? Right? You go to any sports and play, there are some rules and regulations to play. Right?
Yeah.
Take everything like this. So when you approach the true, life, you understand this. Our freedom is controlled, and that is why it is meaningful. If there is no controlled freedom, that is not meaningful at all. You understood?
Yeah.
That's it. So this understanding give us an inspiration to continue our life, our meaningful life, and search for the meaningful life. So when you understand the religion and the religious freedom, in your dressing, in your appearance, being modest, you realize, oh, okay, these are the freedom that I want. Otherwise, why the woman, the women community, especially in the West, they are converting to Islam. They have gone through all types of, freedom, their own liberal life, and they don't find any peace. So they are converting to Islam to find the peace, and they enjoy this meaningful freedom. I call it meaningful freedom, and it is too organic. I have personally encountered with such types of women who accepted Islam after enjoying all these uncontrolled freedoms. And they know the true meaning of life, the true meaningful freedom that they enjoy. And that's very beautiful to see all these things. So these kind of things, should encourage us, along our journey towards the end. Allahu Alam.
Mashallah, mashallah. Beautifully answered.
MashaAllah. Sorry.
All right. Before we conclude, I'd like to ask one final question. If there is one misconception about Islam's role in shaping our thinking that you wish more people understood, what would it be?
I have answered that already in my previous question. People are misconceived and people are wrong. Many of us are wrong about our understanding of the freedom and happiness. So freedom should be, organic, and it should be meaningful freedom. You cannot enjoy the full freedom unless you are controlled. So there should be somebody to control you. And then we are the safest. Because, we don't entrust any fellow human beings to control us. Who is our controller? It is God. So since God is controlling us, we are free. And that's it. So I would motivate or encourage to think about this meaningful freedom. Especially our students, they should understand the true meaning of the freedom. It is not about my choice, my rules, my life. No, there is no such thing, right? So that is the misconception that I want, to move away.
Indeed,
I
indeed.
mean,
I think we had a episode with Sister Afra regarding how beautiful Islam is. Like you mentioned, in social media, people tend to perceive Islam as a very oppressive, regressive religion. And even in terms of us wearing, scarf, people say, why do they need to cover their head? What is the need of that? Why are they wearing niqab? It is such an oppressive religion. But on the other side, it is the most beautiful religion and only religion that respects, as a woman, I would say the only religion that respects and give a lot of importance to women. And such a religion is tend to perceive as the most, oppressive one.
exactly.
So I think in future, inshallah, it slowly gets, people start recognize it as a positive or
Yeah.
a best religion in future, inshallah.
Yeah. We are truly trapped,
Yes.
in these kind of misconceptions. For example, let me tell you one more thing, about our dressing. How Muslims are being trapped in a modern liberal concept, and how the colonizers, even in 19th century or 18th century, they have controlled us even in our dressing. Especially, the Europeans, wherever they went, they colonized, and they controlled the dressing style. So they decided, okay, if the woman is coming to appear, to the public, she should wear only this. And it is happening in the same way in the Europe. Not only in the Europe, but in almost everywhere. Now, they don't colonize us physically, but they colonize us intellectually. So, making an intellectual control with our appearance, is part of this intellectual colonization. And so many of us, are really trapped with that. And as you say, many of our women sisters or sisters, they think that Islam is oppressive and Islam is controlling too much with our dressing, with our niqab, with our hijab. But they don't realize that it is a part of your freedom.
Definitely.
It is a meaningful freedom. It is a meaningful freedom that is being given by your God. Nobody other than your God, right? And you don't realize that somebody from outside is controlling you, colonizing you, dominating you, right? By enforcing their own identity, their own culture, their own values, their own dressing style, all this, their own appearance. And you aspire to become like them. And you forget your own values. What a pity. That's why Islam is very much organic. And it gives you organic freedom. So, sisters and even brothers, we should realize all these things.
Hope it
That's
gets better soon, inshallah.
Inshallah.
All right. So that's the end of our episode today. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
And indeed, I gained a lot of knowledge from you as well. So thank you so much. And I hope through this interview, a lot of people who watches this interview can gain a lot of more knowledge regarding this particular topic, inshallah. I personally got a lot of, clarity on how
Mashallah.
Islamic worldview works and how it changes and shapes our mentality and how to recognize myself as a human being. And, more importantly, it also helps us navigate an, very increasingly complex world with a lot more clarity and purpose. So thank you once again for joining us, and it is my intense pleasure on having you for our last episode of Beyond
Mashallah.
Barrier Season 2. So as we conclude today's discussion, we also bring Season 2 of Beyond Barriers to to close, and I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to all our guests who had joined us throughout this whole journey from season 1 to season 2. And they had shared a lot of positive, a lot of motivating words, and so many people who watched the interview also had shared with me that how it helped in their life, like from our first episode by brother Arfin. He shared about how to manage your school, like your college studies plus your academic works and all, and it has genuinely helped a lot of people. And I'm so glad that I became a reason for this to happen. So thank you so much for joining our show and for giving a lot of love to the show. And alhamdulillah, this has come to an end. So stay tuned. We might come back for our next season. Until then, it's your DJ Aisha, our friend, signing off from Beyond Barriers Season 2, only on IIUM FM, your campus radio.
It's been 16 years. What an incredible journey. To all our listeners, thank you for being with us. This is IIUM FM, celebrating 16 years of your campus radio.